Welcome everyone to Coachology in 20, where we learn coaching concepts in 20 minutes. If you're tuned in, say hi, let me know you're here. If you are a new coach, then grab your pen, grab your paper, grab your tablet, wherever you like to take notes, and get ready to capture the 8 key skills that we're going to be working through today. If you're an experienced coach, then get ready with your fingertips, share your wisdom, share your experience in the comments box, and I will bring it here in this space today so we can create a space where everyone can learn. I can see we've got Donna tuned in. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here, Donna. Adele, wonderful to see you as always. And Augusto, great to have you with us as well. Thank you all for being here today. I would love to know what you're working on right now. So as we wait for the software, the StreamYard to warm up on different platforms, what is your current goal as a coach? What are you working on? What are you working towards? Let me know in the comments box. And as I mentioned, whilst you're doing that, I'm just going to put up the next slide of today's topic, which is the 8 key skills of coaching. So this is going to be great if you are a new coach, because in order for you to start to develop yourself as a coach, as an effective coach, then you need to be able to master these 8 key skills. And if you're tuned in and you're part of our program, then this will be a recap for you. We talk about these 8 key skills in depth in our level 5 program. Donna is in collaboration, and that's what we're doing here today. So your comments, your thoughts, I bring them in this space for a collaborative learning experience together. Because, I'm working through a presentation here. There might be things that I missed, might be different perspectives, different things that you can bring into this space. So this gives so much value to those that are watching on the replay. Okay. So hopefully you might be sharing what it is you're currently working on with regards to your coaching practice. If not, if you don't want to focus on that right now, then I want you to think about what key skills that you know or that you are starting to practice if you're new to coaching with regards to coaching. So what do we believe are the key skills of a coach? Let me know in the comments box. Let's see if we've got these in today's presentation as we go through each of the 8 core key skills that we need to hone. So I can see we've got lots of people tuning in now. So if you are tuning in right now, I'm just asking you, what do you think the 8 key skills of coaching are? And this is not an exhaustive list. There's so many different skills to coaching. Coaching is absolutely beautiful. It's wonderful. There's so many different areas we can take it, so many different tools. These are the 8 core key skills. Without these, we will not make an effective coach. But what do we think they are? What key skills have you experienced? What key skills are you working on and growing and developing as a coach? So Adele is saying having and establishing a good rapport, 100%. So we've got building rapport here, being able to connect and grow with individuals. So that's one that's covered in today's session. Donna's saying confidentiality, client-centered communication. They're definitely key skills. Confidentiality lies on the grounds and responsibility that we have as an ethical coach. So we need to keep everything confidential. Client-centered, we need to be focused on a client. That is definitely what's going to help us be impactful, and communication is very, very important. We're going to talk about each of these later on in the Coachology in 20 series, but none of them actually feature as the 8 key skills that I'm covering today, Donna, which is interesting. But like I said, this is not an exhaustive list. There are so many key skills, so many skills that we hone as a coach. But without these 8 that I'm going to go through today, we will not make an impactful and effective coach. So whilst you're putting it through, I'm going to go through each of these because remember, we're on a time frame. We've got 20 minutes to get through every session. So number 1, the core key skill of a coach is the ability to listen. Now, and I've just seen that come through here. So Donna's put through listening, which is fantastic. Adele's put listening and effective questioning. That's brilliant. So some good stuff coming through here. So the first key skill is listening. And we're going to do a whole session in Coachology in 20 on the different levels of listening. But if we aren't being able to listen at a level 4 or a level 5, which is attentive listening, but where we want to really get to is deep and empathetic listening. And like I said, I'm going to talk about these in a different episode of Coachology in 20 in detail. But essentially, there are 5 levels of listening, from where we are not paying attention at all, which is classed as ignorant or ignoring, to all the way through to empathetic and deep listening, where we work to put ourselves into the shoes of the client, and we're listening to listen. We are not listening to respond. If you think about your conversations that you have with your friends, with your family, with your colleagues, we're always in that space where we're listening to respond. As soon as that individual shares something with you that reminds you of your holiday or reminds you whatever you're talking about. So let's say they're talking to you about a vacation, they've just been on a holiday, they've been to Italy or Spain, and it brings back memories of your experience in Italy or Spain. You're going to start to respond with that. Now, that is listening to respond. As a coach, the key skill here is to listen to listen. We do not bring ourselves into that coaching space. We are there to remain neutral, objective, and not to bring in our thoughts and experience. So we're there to listen to listen. So listen is the first key skill. And as I mentioned, we will be doing a full session on the 5 levels, and I'll be walking you through each level. And for those of you who've already gone through the 5 levels of listening, I've also got a deeper level that we teach on a level 7 program that splits up the level 5 of deep and empathetic listening. So stay tuned for that. The next core key skill of a coach that we need to understand is we need to hone the ability to effectively question. And I can see that Adele mentioned that earlier on. A few of you know this already, but as a new coach that's coming into our profession, effective question is key. And then this leads on to powerful questioning. And again, I'm going to do a full session in Coachology in 20 on effective questioning, where we're going to look at the types of questions that we should adopt, such as open questions, such as hypothetical questions, such as clarity questions, scaling questions. There's a lot of questions that we should be adopting as a coach. And equally, there's questions that we should avoid. So the key thing to take away from today with regards to effective question, if we're new to coaching, is to start to explore making sure that all the questions we ask are open-ended questions. That is questions that begin with what, where, why, when, and a how. We do not want to ask any leading questions that resolve or close questions that result in a yes or no response. But from there, this gets deeper. There's so many different powerful question techniques that we can adopt, different types of skills and questions we can adopt to move from effective question into powerful question. But I'm going to go into detail on that in another episode later on. The purpose of today is just for you to capture these 8 key skills. So the first is the ability to listen, at least at a level 4 of attentive listening, and then moving into deep and empathetic. And the second key skill of a coach is the ability to effectively question, to come to that space with curiosity, to ask open-ended questions and get information from and clarify the information that comes from our clients. So effective question and listening, 2 core skills that we need as a coach. If we don't master these, we're going to struggle to make an impact in our coaching. The next one, would anybody like to guess the next one? It's already been mentioned. What do we think the third key skill is? So because we're on a bit of a time limit and I want to get these within 20 minutes, the next key skill is building rapport. So Del mentioned this earlier on. We need the ability to be able to connect with people. We need to be able to understand people. We need to be able to build trust. We need to be able to, and Donna mentioned client-centered. We need to have that client-centered approach, which is very important to building rapport. We need to understand what it means, what rapport is, how we build it, how we start to hone that skill where we can build it faster, so we can get in the space, we can create that space of psychological safety with our clients, we can build trust from the get-go, and we can start to build a very fruitful and a very deep coaching relationship with our clients. And I'm going to go again later on. I'm going to go into detail on each of these 8 key skills. So we'll be going into detail on building rapport at a later date in this Coachology in 20 series, where we'll look at things and ways in which we can build rapport, and also things we need to avoid, things that will break rapport. And if you want to take interest in key point today, the one that kind of sits on the center of both is a make or break in terms of the relationship that we have and the rapport we have with our clients is humor. So if we can have a bit of a joke, a bit of a laugh, we can bring humor into our coaching space and it connects with our clients, then that is essentially the deepest level of rapport that we can reach with an individual. However, we have to be very careful because also the wrong humor, the wrong sense of humor with a client, mismatch, inappropriate slight joke that the client doesn't find funny, we can break what's taken us months maybe to build in seconds. So incorrect humor can really break the rapport. But as I mentioned, I'm going to go into this in detail. We're going to have a full session where we look at the 10 building blocks towards rapport and also the 10 breakers of rapport. So we're going to detail on this in a later Coachology in series. I see we have a spike of people in on this session, which is fantastic. If you're just tuning in, we've gone through the first 3 key skills, which is listening at an attentive or deep and empathetic level, the ability to effectively question as a coach, and the ability to build rapport with our clients. And the quicker we can do that, the quicker we can build trust, the quicker we can create a space of psychological safety, the better and quicker we're going to have deep relationships with our clients. Number 4, empathy. Not to be confused with sympathy. And again, I'm going to go into another session in detail on empathy. We're going to look at the difference between empathy and sympathy, and we're going to look and understand when, as a coach, we can come from a space of empathy, and when, as a coach, we should come from a place of sympathy, because both have their place in coaching. And we also have to look and be careful with empathy. So empathy, as a coach, is the ability to put ourselves in the client's shoes, to see things the best we can from their perspective and their experience, the way they are viewing things right now. Sympathy is slightly different. We maybe struggle to really empathize because we've not gone through something similar, but we can feel the emotions that that individual is going through. So we come from a place of sympathy. But this is important as a coach. And empathy links to the ability to listen, the ability to fully understand what is going on for our clients. But we need to be careful with empathy, because when we start to look and empathize with our clients, this is where we might encounter one of the first problems that we face as a coach. And every coach will face this challenge. It's the ability to empathize without it emotionally affecting us. Sometimes our sessions, what we're going through with our coaches, holding that space and empathizing with our clients we can lead us to becoming emotionally involved and attached to that situation. We might want to go into rescue mode. It might be really deep for us in terms of that connection. So we need to be able to empathize without it being emotionally draining for us as a coach. So that can be one of the biggest challenges that we face as a coach. So moving on, because we've got 20 minutes, we've got 10 minutes left of today's session. Number 5 is observation. Now, we've talked about the ability to question. We've talked about the ability to listen. We've talked about being able to build rapport. We've talked about the ability to empathize with our clients. But we also need to be observant. We need to be able to observe the body language. We need to be able to observe the things that aren't being said within this space. And I've talked about, we talk about AI coaches, whether they exist, whether they don't exist. I'm not going to go into that today, but this is something that AI coaches can't do. They can't detect things that aren't being said. They can't detect clients' body language. We need to be able to observe the full space. We need to see the whole coaching space as in its entirety, as a whole, and not just get lost and focused on one of the key skills. We need to be able to observe what is going on for our clients. And again, we'll go deeper into observation in another Coachology in 20 episode later in this series. So I can see we've got another spike. So I'm just going to go through the key skills we've covered so far. Deep or empathetic listening, the ability to effectively question, the ability to build rapport, empathy, the ability to empathize with our clients, and the ability to observe the coaching space, looking at body language, looking at what's going on for the clients, that which is not being said. So those are the 5 key skills we've covered so far. Number 6, which I see Donna has put in there, self-awareness. When I talk about awareness here, I'm talking about self-awareness. How aware are we of our practice, of our mindset, of ourselves as an individual? What do we need to grow? What do we need to develop on? What are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? What's our MBTI style? What's our Enneagram style? How are we in terms of our emotional regulation? Do we have high emotional maturity? Are we emotionally intelligent? These things are all important because the more we build on our self-awareness, the better we can be as a coach and the best we can give as a coach to our clients. And I'm going to go into detail again on awareness. We look at the 5 different types of awareness. This is all in my Coaching Presence book as well. We'll talk about emotional maturity, emotional intelligence later on. But the more aware we are, not just as an individual, but as a coach, the more impactful and effective we can be as a coach for our clients. And I can see Donna has got number 7 already. I can see lots of stuff coming through, which is fantastic. So number 7, key skill, which Donna's just put in the comments box as well, is reflection. So we also need to be able to reflect back to our clients in a constructive and in a professional manner. Now, this is not about reflecting back and giving our opinions, our assumptions, or leading the client down a certain path with the information that we're sharing back to them. We literally mean, when we talk about reflection in coaching, is about being that mirror for the client. And think back to a conversation that you've had with one of your clients. If you're new to coaching, think about a conversation you've had with a colleague or a friend. Generally, when they're sharing information with us, this could be the first time that that person, that individual, has ever shared any information with us. So just by reflecting back their words, using their language, using their metaphors, holding ourselves up as a mirror, then that will allow us and allow that client to see what it is that's being shared. It gives them a whole new perspective. And again, I'm going to go into detail on the ability to reflect back, what we need to think about, what we need to avoid as a coach in a later episode of Coachology in 20. We have these sessions every Monday. I'm going to go deeper into this every session. So each session is going to build upon each session every Monday at 5 p.m. So stay tuned for this and further. I can see that Winnie, great to have you here. Thank you so much for tuning in. She shared empathy, observation, awareness. Thank you for sharing that. It's the last 3 that we've just covered. And Adele saying disruptions and interruptions, limit in order to be present. Yep, so presence is a different one. I'm going to cover that in just a second. But I can see Donna's put reliability and presence. So people are shouting and sharing the key skills of a coach, which is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. So the last one that we've got, because we're coming up to the 20 minutes, again, the purpose of today is just to capture these 8 key skills. And I want you to ask a question. I'm going to ask the question at the end. But the last one is, as Adele's mentioned, is presence. And one thing I always say to coaches, and I always say to individuals or anybody in our profession, and it doesn't just apply to our profession, but the best gift that you can give anybody is your presence. If we are just there, we're focused, we're paying attention, we're listening deeply, we're asking effective questions, we're coming from a place of curiosity and being there in the moment. There's a whole book that I've written on coaching presence. So we're going to go into lots of different topics. Dale mentioned disruptions and interruptions. That's later on in the Coachology in 20 series. We're going to go deeper into all of this from my Coachology, my coaching book, Coaching in Presence, in this Coachology in 20 series. But probably the most important and probably the best gift and skill we can give to our clients is our presence. How do we stay in the moment? How do we avoid that mind chatter that comes in? Whether it's negative thinking about, oh, I don't know what to ask next. Maybe it's just we're disinterested from the conversation and we're thinking about what we want to have for lunch later on. Whatever it is, we need the ability to prepare for presence. So how do we make sure we show up as our best selves? How do we hold that presence and avoid that mind chatter, staying focused and aware in the session? And then how do we reflect on that presence at a later date? So presence is the best gift that we can give to our clients. So that's the 8 key skills. I can see we've got a spike. So I'm going to recap this because we're coming up to the 20 mark. The first one is the ability to listen at a deep and empathetic level. The second is to be able to effectively question our clients, looking at powerful question techniques, looking at questions to avoid, questions to adopt. The third is the ability to build rapport with our clients. And the quicker we can do this, the quicker we can create a space of psychological safety, the better it is for the coaching relationship. The fourth is the ability to empathize, but not empathize so much that it becomes emotionally draining for us. The fifth is the ability to observe. So this is looking at the things that are not being said, being able to observe the client's body language, observing the whole coaching space as a whole. The fifth is self-awareness, our ability to look at ourselves. The more aware we are as an individual and as a coach, the more effective our coaching will be. The seventh is reflection, the ability to reflect back to our clients in a constructive and beneficial manner. And the eighth is presence. Now, from everything that I've just shared, these 8 key skills, I want to leave you with this question. Which one of these, if they're new, is new to you that you need to go and walk away from today and work upon? Which of these 8 key skills do you feel that you're lacking in right now and requires your focus and attention so you can build this and become a better coach? And if these 8 questions are completely new, then please take this away, capture the notes, and think about how and where you can start and which ones you want to build upon. I can see that Dr. Kuma's tuned in. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Kuma. I have a question about presence. Please do ask. I will have to drop off the live in 1 minute. So if you can get that question through, I'm happy to answer this today. And so which area do you need to work on? And while I'm waiting for Dr. Kuma's question, if you're still tuned in, I just want to let you know, if you want to learn more, like I said, I'm going to go into detail on every one of these 8 key skills over this Coachology in 20 series. This is where we learn coaching concepts in 20 minutes, but I have to keep them brief to stay within the 20-minute time zone, which I'm slightly over today, but as long as we don't hit over 23, I'm fine. So if you want to learn more, if this is not enough for you and go deeper into each of those, you can scan the QR code. It takes you to my book, Coaching Essentials, which I go deeper into in each of these. And it is £12.97 on Amazon. It's available globally. Absolutely, it's there for you to scan and get if you want to learn more between each session. I can see some people are sharing. Augusto's saying he wants to work on effective question. That's brilliant. We're going to cover that in a couple of lessons' time. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Thank you.